Welcome to Woohoo Wednesday. I'm Little Woo, and this week's topic is about the Akashic Records. The Akashic Records is seen as a cosmic library containing the life story of all beings, with every thought, deed, and emotion recorded and accessible by our consciousness on a non-physical dimension. So first, I invite you to consider how you'd behave if you knew that on some level of existence, your every thought and deed were recorded for posterity. Secondly, I invite you to observe the internet as a physical version of the Akashic Records. We are all contributing to a vast archive of our thoughts, actions, and emotions as text, images, videos, and big data. Thirdly, I'm curious to know if you would have your Akashic Records read if you had the opportunity. Years ago, I'd heard that some people could find their future written on palm leaves stored in a temple in India. Then when I visited India in 2012, I became close friends with Raj Mohan, who said that he and his family had their palm leaves read. According to him, everything about his past up to the present moment was accurate, but certain things about his future were not. This aligns with my belief that astrology and other kinds of readings are only forecasting a possible future based on your current direction and energy. If the future is not written in stone, then you could alter outcomes through your internal and external choices. I was fascinated by Raj Mohan's story, so I hope to one day meet someone else who could share their Akashic Record experience with me. And in comes Leslie Ann, who is a dear friend, and one day this story came out and I was just, my jaw dropped and I was so shocked. I was like, this is the story I've been waiting for. And we're so happy to have her here to share the story with you.
The Akashic Records, or the Nadi Jyotia Ola leaf astrology, is kept in a temple in South India that you cannot access by road. You have to go by train to get there. And it was written about 2,000 years ago, they say, was copied and put in another temple in South India. So this is the one that I went to. So we were told to show up at the temple between 8:30 and 9 o'clock in the morning to have our thumb impressions taken, which is how they find our Akashic Records.
This is a time before you were ever on social media.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's not like they couldn't go on into a secret room with a computer and, face profile you or look you up.
Definitely not. There was no ID, there was nothing given.
You can give them your name, your ID, no, nothing.
Nothing.
Not even your birth date.
Nothing.
Just
a thumbprint.
your thumbprint. Okay.
And he said to me, okay, we're going to start asking you a series of questions. You either answer yes or no, and that's it. So we started with the scrolls. There was two people in there. One that was reading the scrolls, and it's a very old Tamil that's being sung, actually, and being read. And then the other gentleman would then translate to me in English. The very first question was, are you a twin? And I said no. So he flipped it to the next leaf. And every time I said no, another leaf was turned. If I said yes, he just continued reading until I said no.
Maxwell is your father's name?
He said my father's name. It sent me back in my chair. I just answered yes. The next question.
Lorraine is your mother's name?
Yes. The next one.
And your name is Leslie?
Yes.
Gori is your ex-boyfriend's name?
Corey. Yes.
And through your boyfriend, you have 2 sons?
Yes.
And you have 1 brother and 1 sister?
Yes. And then I was told that I was to be there today with a girl named Chindi, who was sitting right next to me.
You will come here when you are 35 years of age. Destiny has driven you to our place, and all these details has been provided to you as a proof to say that the leaf belongs only to you.
At that point, I'm crying. So he's like, great, you go sit. We need to write.
And then they take that palm leaf, once they know it's yours, and they go over and they transcribe it in these booklets.
They broke down your life into increments. So I guess like between the age of, they would go 38, 39, 40, 41. This is going to happen. 41, 42, 43, 44. So they were very precise with what was happening in my life at that time and up until that time. They said I will be renting out houses. I was renting out 3 rooms in my basement to international students, and that I would be working for a private organization, and I was. It also said that I would be having a second job that was almost the same as my first job, which is exactly what was happening at that time as well.
What are some of the little points that they made about your potential future?
So going into my future, I'm 43 today.
Happy birthday!
Oh, thank you. So from the ages of like 45 to 50, for example, let's just say, they said I would travel in search of God and truth. I would own my own business, buy some property, vehicle, healthy bank balance, that my children would graduate and would do well in the future and would go on to get formally married. They said I would make money and help in giving it to people in need. Going into my 50s, I was supposed to be very grounded and very spiritual. I would probably be a spiritual teacher of some sorts. Also between the ages of 51 to 55, that I would be visiting various countries and learning from many spiritual teachers. I'll be using my business mind. Another thing they told me was that in my 60s at some point that I would be suffering from stomach problems, and told me that I would have to avoid all spicy food and certain different things. So I started to do that right now in my life instead of waiting to 60 and have stomach problems. So I may have altered that path as well. Mm-hmm. You have the power to change your path once you know this information. And the astrologers told me that. You have the power to change everything, or some things. He told me about one of my previous past lives, and also told me that I will come back for another life.
How did it feel? Like you said you cried when...
I was excited. Like I cried, but I also got a very good reading, and I took a big risk by doing that. Because if I had come out of there and they said things like, you know, your child's gonna die at 20 or something like that, then that could really have affected my life. I also had a couple of other friends go that day. They also were found. One other girl here from Canada almost refused to hear what was told them, maybe because they didn't hear what they were thinking that they were going to hear.
So they all had their parents' names found?
Yes, all 4.
So they all agreed that that happened to them?
Yes.
But they couldn't quite digest what was said to them?
What was being told.
Okay. They
didn't have all of the chapters read either. So they skipped out on finding out about children's births and deaths and their parents' health and things like that they didn't want to know.
Right. What were the things that they wanted to know?
Love, money.
Love and career,
yeah.
Probably the most popular. Yeah.
And in India, I was told that most people get this done. They go in looking for one answer to one question, and it's often, is my child going to get married?
The most important question for some parents.
Yeah.
Yes. These are ancient palm leaves, like, that are written in ancient Tamil.
How?
There's no way they could go and scribble this all in the short time that she was in the temple.
Never.
And so, like, you're facing the improbable or the impossible seeming, and yet you're hearing this reality come in, and you're going through this, and you maybe heard, because you heard things that were kind of nurturing and supportive, it was easier to digest.
Absolutely. I had no question. This was a type of astrology that there was no guessing game. There was nothing. They had one thing only, was my thumbprint. And you know, I believe that our thumbprints hold maps to the stars. And that just made it quite clear that there's such a bigger picture out there. I already did believe that. That confirmed it even more for me.
So if you do go to this place in this temple, you may or may not have your scroll found. It's not guaranteed. If you think it's going to make you frightened to go and get your reading done, any kind of reading, then maybe it's not the right thing for you. But if you feel that it would empower you to make different choices and inspire you and actually show you the magic of this life, then that may be the right mindset to go in for a reading. Thank you so much for being our guest on Woohoo Wednesday today. And oh my goodness, on your upcoming adventures in India. Lots of love. Mwah. Thank you again for joining me on Woohoo Wednesday. Stay in touch with me long term. Go to my website, littlewoo.org, and look for the octopus so that you can add your name and email, and we'll get connected that way. Thank you so much for staying in touch. Lots of love.